All right, my friends, Jared Dukes with you. I'm sure you've heard the news already. Former President Donald Trump guilty on all 34 counts. If you hear some background noise, don't worry about it. I have many different stations up right now that we can switch to on and off and discuss accordingly. It's my hope today to talk to each and every one of you, let you know exactly what's going on, and basically to have a collective conversation and to hopefully give everybody some hope. Let everybody know it's going to be okay. I know our emotions are raw right now. It's upsetting. We're aggravated. I want you to share your comments in the comment section. It's very important that you do so. We all need to have this conversation, this collective moment. We're going to be switching back and forth to various programs here, and I got many things I want to talk about. First thing I want to tell each and every one of you, it's going to be okay. I've been around a little while. Today is going to be one of these days where we're going to remember it. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. This is going to be like a 9/11. Unfortunately, it's going to be like an O.J. Simpson type of thing where you remember where you're at. I'm not old enough, but some of you out there I know old enough to remember John F. Kennedy when he was assassinated. This is going to be one of these days that we all remember, and we remember where we're at, and we remember what we're doing. I want to take a quick, brief moment and just make sure that everything is working. We're on X. YouTube is coming in nice. Facebook and Twitch is coming online right now as we speak. We're going to switch over and take a look at some of the AP and a few of the other stations. I know that this is shocking for each and every one of us. It's definitely not good news. Lonnie, thanks for joining us today, my friend. Appreciate having you. I'm not going to give you an I told you so type thing. We talked about this the other day. It's a New York City trial. There has to be a villain. People like a villain. Some people like a villain. We knew this was a political persecution. We knew this from step one. We knew this from day one. And it's not difficult to predict what happened. We talked yesterday about the makeup of the jury. Remember, you're in a New York district that has at a minimum, it's 88% Democrat. And that's the reason why they brought this case in New York City, because Donald Trump is not popular in New York City. There's a lot of supporters there, as shown by the speech he had in the Bronx. But the reality is, my friends, that there are a lot of people in New York City that frankly don't like the president. And this is the kind of thing, unfortunately, prosecutors do. This corruption, this type of nonsense has been going on for a very long time. As I said the other day, generally it is not something that they make it so public. It's normally smaller individuals, less wealthy individuals that they go after when they don't like what a person says, what a person stands for. This has to do with everything from this cancel culture that we live in, this Me Too nonsense, all this other stuff that is going on in our society. We should not be surprised with what's happened. We live in a society where we're teaching girls to be boys, boys to be girls. Our identities can be whatever we want them to be. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's just a mess. And this is what's happening. Let's go ahead and let's pull up quickly. I want to take a look and see what the Associated Press has going on. I want to encourage you to go ahead and leave comments. Share with me your thoughts on what's going on today. I did release a video earlier. I encourage you to check out. It has some commentary and some insights as to exactly what went into this trial. As we talked about yesterday, you had a jury made up of 7 men, 4 women, and you had a situation bluntly where everybody on the jury was probably a Democrat. It was definitely liberal. When you're talking about attorneys, you're talking about educators, you're talking about just individuals like that in general, it should not be surprising for any of us that we had this type of outcome. Again, it was a Democratic type of area. I mean, where else would you go other than California to find a more democratic jury? It's also the same reason why when individuals file lawsuits, they forum shop. You try to get to a jurisdiction that you know the courts are generally liberal or the courts are conservative. Again, it's nonsense and it shouldn't be allowed. I think what we're looking at on the bottom right of your screen right there is former President Donald Trump heading back over at soon to Trump Tower. Yeah, it's on CNN and Fox. That's exactly what's going on. And of course, a recap of the news: Donald Trump guilty on all 34 charges. You wondering how we got the 34 charges? Well, the way we got the 34 convictions, I should say, is essentially he wrote 34 checks and they just stacked them. The outrageous thing that I talked about today earlier in a video that I released was the fact, and this is where it's really, really amazing. The fact was the jury was not even required to have a unanimous decision. Essentially, they were able to resurrect dead misdemeanors and basically wrap them. I heard someone describe it as a penguin that they put a tuxedo on. That's exactly what they did. The jury does not even have to agree upon what the secondary crime is or was allegedly. And that's exactly what they did. This judge is corrupt. This judge is obviously a political Democratic operative. His daughter made in excess of $93 million on behalf of the court, on behalf of the judge. What did you expect was going to happen? The judge essentially led all of these people, the entire jury, to the water. The water is the water of a guilty plea, and that's exactly what happened today. I know that my viewers that normally watch my program and stuff, and folks that are going to watch this later, I know it's upsetting. I know it's a painful day. I know you're probably mad. I get it. But let's try to look at the good news here. The good news here is this all but solidifies President Donald Trump to become the next president of the United States. This will only serve to enrage individuals. People that were sitting on the fence, they're just that much more likely now to vote for former President Donald Trump. That's just the way I see it. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know if you see it exactly the same way, because I think that's pretty well obvious what is going on. Hang on one second. I want to check another stream that I'm monitoring. Let me switch over. I want to switch over to this one newscast. They had an interesting conversation I caught the beginning of, and let's take a quick peek at this here. All righty, here we go. This is CBS, I believe. Let's listen to a part of what she's talking about.
Presidential debate as well. The first this summer against Joe Biden, which will be must-see TV, no less. I want to ask about that because I think many people look at sometimes, I just want to step back for a second. When we show national polls or you read
and they got the sentencing here scheduled for July 11th.
Those are the mood of the national electorate.
That is one other thing. Let me turn it down just a bit. That is one other thing that I think is very important for each and every one of you to know. I don't think that anybody expects former President Donald Trump to go to jail. Again, I'm here to tell you, I think that's a real possibility. We'll just have to wait and see if that comes to fruition or not. Hopefully that's not the reality. Zach, my friend, okay, we're supposed to respect the jury of his peers' decision, but Biden does not have to respect the Supreme Court's decision. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't like this lawfare. I don't like what basically is going to be the norm. Now you're going to see the Democrats, or I should say the Republicans, they're going to have tit for tat, so to speak. You're going to have this exact type of nonsense that's going to be repeated because they're not going to take this line down. And again, Zach, remember this. I'm a firm believer that all this is going to do, all this is going to serve to do is solidify support for President Donald Trump. I think it just basically makes him the next president. And I've had individuals ask me, say, hey, are you telling me that he can serve as president after a felony conviction? Absolutely. Let's listen in for 1 second.
Actually, they thought beforehand could be influenced and possibly negatively about Trump if he's found guilty will suddenly that becomes very, very important for the former president and for President Biden. But I would say this about that polling data. It's instructive, Nora, but it is not reliable, because until this moment happens, until this history lands before all of us, we don't know what our attitude is going to be. Now we're beginning that process.
I'm interested what happens to the polls after this remarkable 3 or 4 weeks we're about to experience in America, where there's a presidential debate between two men who've had the job before. A president of the United States now out of office being sentenced for a felony, and then a Republican National Convention. And somewhere in between, we also could find out what the Supreme Court is going to let happen here in Washington on the 2020 election conspiracy case.
And whether that trial will go forward.
Whether it even goes forward.
We're going to switch over to Alan Dershowitz and listen to him for 1 second. He's talking about the exact verdict that just came down. Let's switch over and let's listen to this real quick. I think you'll find this worthwhile to take a look at. Give me just 1 second here. I got to switch over on our screen. Unfortunately, Dershowitz, of course, was correct. All right, here we go. Let's listen to this 1 second.
It's a worse day for America than it actually is for Donald Trump. Don't know what the impact will be on Trump. Don't know what it'll be on his electoral prospects. He's probably not going to get jail time, and if he does, it would be stayed pending appeal. I don't know whether the case will be reversed on appeal. Sir, I don't think it would be reversed by the appellate division. These are judges who are terrified of being perceived of as
maybe not the
Trump
New York
in any
appellate
way.
division.
Don't know whether or not the New York Court of Appeals in Albany will have the ability to not consider the impact it will have on individuals as judges. Surely the Supreme Court wouldn't, but that's a way off, and there wouldn't be a decision by the Supreme Court probably before the election. This is still the weakest case I've ever seen in 60 years. The fact that the jury convicted based on false instructions, wrong instructions, based on the jurors having been between 85 and 90% picked from a veneer that hates Trump and doesn't want him to be president. The fact that the jury convicted doesn't make this case any stronger or any better. I was recently, just 15 minutes ago, on with the Times of London, and they were saying, well, doesn't the fact that the jury convicted prove that it was a strong case? No, it proves that it was a case that was brought in a jurisdiction where a conviction was almost assuredly guaranteed. In the South, when they convicted black people improperly with an all-white jury, or acquitted white people improperly with an all-white jury, that didn't mean that those convictions were correct. It just meant that the jury didn't reflect the values of our country. It reflected the values of a particular region of the country. In this case, the region is a liberal region, New York. In the southern cases, the region was the conservative region of the South. But juries are imperfect, and juries represent the biases of individuals. We do live in the age of Trump syndrome, of people can't not talk rationally about Donald Trump any more than they can talk rationally about Israel or about some other subjects. Trump is the most divisive person we've had in politics.
Yeah, the good professor is absolutely correct about that. I want to switch over 1 second. Let's listen to our friends over at Judicial Watch. I like this guy. He normally has some interesting takes on this. I'm just trying to monitor certain stations that I like. Here we go on this, and let's listen to this for just a minute.
Come on in. We go to Judicial Watch here.
This guy runs an organization called Judicial Watch. They do a lot of good work around the United States.
So back where we are in the studio, the cell signal isn't as good as I'd like it to be.
All right, well, I'm going to let him finish
So
his
we're looking
break.
for questions. People are.
We're going to let him finish his break, and we're going to, his viewers are just as aggravated as probably you are right now. That just shows you what happens when you make the wrong people, or I guess the right people, depends on your perspective, mad or aggravated. That's exactly what you risk as far as retribution. You don't share their views, you don't share their line, they take you out. That is extremely, obviously, unfortunate. Let's see if they got anything going on this. There we go.
Pardon himself if he does become president again, because this is a state crime. Once again, the breaking news: former President Donald Trump has been found guilty by a jury of 12, unanimous, on all 34 counts of falsifying business records. Our coverage will continue with CBS News 24/7 local.
Fortunately, Zach, I have to absolutely and totally agree with you on this one here. It's extremely sad day. Extremely sad day. The one good thing about YouTube and being able to talk with everyone like this is at least we can all express our collective outrage and aggravation about this. Let's switch back over and listen to Alan for just one more second. See what else he's got to say on this.
The examinations were not what I would expect in a first-rate case. Trump has had a lot of trouble getting good lawyers, and I think he had to settle in this case for somebody who was nice to him, but who was relatively inexperienced in cases of this kind. So this is the beginning of a very, very dangerous trail. Where it ends up, nobody knows. Will it result in more? I
totally agree that it is a very dangerous time that we're in right now. Concerning is another word that I would use. We're going to switch over. I got a link here on NBC News. I think they're showing President Trump in traffic right now. Let's see if we can go here real quick. Take a look at this.
He's owned that he had credibility issues, and they had to do that.
Yeah, and the prosecutors would say, we didn't choose Michael Cohen. We didn't go to the witness store and pick him up for a low price. It's Donald Trump who chose Michael Cohen as his lawyer and fixer, and that is.
Can you imagine somebody like Michael Cohen being the reason a man like President Donald Trump is convicted on 34 felonies? What an outrage.
Of a conviction. And we are in uncharted territory. Mm-hmm. So I think, honestly, some humility here, because nobody knows. We've never had a convicted felon as a former president or as a candidate for federal office. But how do you believe the Biden administration, the Biden campaign will be handling this? And how do you think they should?
Well, you can already see from the last hour or so how they're starting to handle it. And one is the White House had a very short, minimal statement that basically referred to believing in the rule of law. The campaign had a much longer statement. One of the key lines in that campaign statement was about how the only way to ensure Donald Trump is not in the Oval Office is the ballot box, which what that tells.
Well, they can keep spewing their nonsense all that they want. It is what it is. I encourage you all to listen to the news, get all the information you're going to need on this. But I'm going to tell you, it's not the end of the world. The way we're going to rectify this is we're going to go to the polls and we're going to vote. We're going to educate ourselves on the facts and we're going to vote. We're going to encourage our friends, family, and neighbors to do the same. And that's about all we can do. So I just kind of want to give each and every one of you a collective hug and let you know it's going to be all right. Until next time, folks, J.R. Dukes, just wanted to have a quick chat. Appreciate you joining.